It's exactly 9:15. Welcome back to the second hour of News and Views on Salam Media. And of course, lots more coming your way. A big welcome to our Polokwane listeners on One Nation FM. Next, we're going to be talking to Dolapi. Kosana Dolapi, Deputy General Secretary at SADTU. That, of course, is the South African Democratic Teachers Union. And they are calling for an immediate ceasefire uh, in Gaza to provide humanitarian intervention. A very good morning to you, Nkosana. Um, Great to have you on the show this morning. Welcome.
Good morning. Good morning to your listeners, and thanks for inviting and having us.
Well, I do applaud SADTU for taking such a strong stance. We understand that SADTU's National Working Committee held its ordinary monthly meeting on the 31st of October and deliberated on a host of issues, including the Gaza genocide by the IDF. And of course, the NWC, noted with shock the inability of the United Nations to bring the parties to the negotiating table to find a lasting solution in light with the UN resolution and the two-state solution. So talk to us more about what else was discussed and what do you believe that SADTU, what sort of noises can you raise to at least get some attention on this matter?
Look, firstly, we start from the point that as education workers, we are very close to the children. It is about the children all the time. It's about their future. It's about building a nation. So this idea is not only a national kind of idea. It's an idea that we are advocating for even internationally. That the rights of children to access to quality education should never be undermined and disrupted. That is why this time we are so concerned about what is happening in Gaza in particular. When you see schools being bombarded, when you see hospitals, ambulances, when you see humanitarian agencies being attacked on a daily basis in Gaza, up to now, we are saddened as a union to know that innocent civilians, innocent lives, almost more than 10,000 of them were lost. And the sad part of it is that almost half of those who lost their lives are learners, are children, the ones that we are working with on a daily basis. That saddens us even more. What we know as a union is that at any time when we have wars, the girl child is the one who's affected the most from this kind of situation. That is why as a union we say that it can't be correct that the world keep quiet. It can't be correct that the United Nations can't be firm on this question. We are calling on all our leaders in Africa in particular to close ranks. And we are encouraged, we must say, by the position of the South African government in terms of how the posture they have taken on this question. They have decided to be on the right side of history. They have decided to be on the side of justice. They have decided to be on the side of peace. And we are fully supporting those kind of ventures by our government. And we are calling on the entire society in South Africa, but also in Africa. The African Union should be louder. It can't be mum when such atrocities are happening on a daily basis. And we need to speak out against it. And in fact, for us in South Africa, we have real experience of such atrocities. It's not a story that you are presenting to us, not a fantasy. It's a real experience of apartheid, of being tortured, of being killed, of being maimed. So from that experience that we have of apartheid, we can't see that some people subjected to similar kind of conditions now. That's why we are calling for justice, we are calling for peace, and we are calling for the protection of schools and protection of our learners and teachers, such that their future should be guaranteed.
And sadly, we are also hearing that teachers in Palestine, their cars are being burnt and damaged totally so that it prevents them from going to school to teach the children. We're not talking Gaza, we're talking in other parts of Palestine, because we know that in Gaza, life as they knew it has come to an absolute standstill. They don't even have homes, and most of the families are buried alive under rubble. But you also go on to say, and rightly so, during this difficult time, we know that women and girl children are vulnerable, and every effort needs to be made to address their plight. And you further go on to say, all lives matter. And the NWC is calling for immediate ceasefire to allow genuine negotiations and humanitarian interventions. This is the only logical solution to save lives. Whom are you making that call to?
We are making this call to all peace-loving people in the country and in the world. This is no more a question of Palestine alone. It can never be reduced even to a struggle or an effort of South Africa alone. The entire world must rise. And like I said earlier, to be on the right side of history, protect the future of the children of Palestine, protect the girl child, protect the human. There can be no reason. No one can forward any justifiable argument on what is happening there. Whether you attack Hamas or whatever kind of thing there, it can't be that we attack civilians, unarmed people, harmless children, girl child and women, with nothing to defend themselves. I mean, it just can't be accepted that you will have this kind of situation. We are even calling on COSATU, our federation, with all her affiliates, to come together and look at what kind of funds can have as workers in the kind of support from medicine and all other supporting material at schools that we think children might need. We are lobbying COSATU to mobilize all her workers to come in providing some support to what is happening in Gaza. We are also calling on our government to mobilize the entire South African society community, the African community, and the world to say that we need to do something to support the Palestinians. And we are emphasizing the point of the children. It can't be correct that you just attack children in that kind of way. In fact, you are destroying a future of a nation.
Absolutely.
It's about extinction in this case. And it can't be
Absolutely.
without us speaking against it.
And Kosana, I think that is the intent as far as the Zionists are concerned. That is their ultimate goal. They want to wipe the Palestinian future generations from the face of the earth. But that being said, you also talk about double standards displayed by the international community. How do you believe SADTU and COSATU? I mean, these are strong voices that need to be heard. How do you believe you can make these very strong statements so that they can reach the very top echelons in government all around the world?
We continue raising them at all platforms. We are members of some federations in SADC, for instance, a teachers organization called the Southern African Teachers Organization. We have raised this issue with them. We have said to them that they, in their respective countries, should raise their voices on this thing here. We are raising these issues at platforms on organizations that we are affiliated to in Africa and all other international organizations. We are using all those platforms to raise the plight of the people of Palestine. In our union in particular, I mean, we have gone all out throughout our structures to even sharpen levels of awareness and consciousness of our members around this painful situation that we are finding ourselves in. We are presenting to them the unfairness and unjust approach of the superpowers in the world who on one day call for an end to a war in Ukraine, and the next day would come to support openly so to the provision of all kinds of material to Israel to kill children, to kill the girl child, and destroy a future of a nation. So we are raising all those issues, and we are even going to an extent of saying that it might be important, even later in terms of our curriculum, if proper history is presented to our children, that situations like this one should be shared with our children such that they know they aren't just a situation that we find ourselves as a people. It might be happening to the Palestinians today. It happened to us. It might happen to another nation today. So we are firm on this international slogan of an injury to one is an injury to all. We have nothing to lose except to save the Palestinians from being maimed, from being killed, and their children from the right of the children of Palestinians taken away from them. Their right to life, their right to education is taken away from them on a daily basis. The streets of Gaza, of Palestine, have now been turned into graveyards for the children, the innocent children of that nation. That is so painful, and we need, as peace-loving people, to speak against it.
I want to also ask you about your thoughts regarding all of these mass protest actions in in the form of marches, not only in South Africa but all around the world. And thank God, up to now, they've all been very, very peaceful. Do you believe that we need to continue doing that, and why?
We need to do that. Like again, our own experience in South Africa, we got our liberation because of pressure from outside. These kind of marches were key platforms that we used. They were weapons that they were used for 1994 that pressurized the apartheid government, isolated the apartheid government up to a point that they had to come to their senses and realize that sanity must prevail. We are human beings. Rationality must prevail. And that's how we achieve our freedom. So we say the Palestinian cause, this noble cause, can also be assisted by these international programs. We are encouraged as a union, both national in South Africa, by the number of people who came out in support of the cause of the people of Palestine. But also we are encouraged, I think, for the first time, after a very, very, very long time, that we have seen such massive campaigns all over the world raising the plight of the Palestinian people, but also raising importantly, because that is what we don't want to be, we should not lose this thing of innocent children, the girl child being killed on a daily basis. So we are encouraged, whether it be in New York, whether it be in England, everywhere, we are encouraged by the kind of mass support that the Palestinians are getting. And we should continue with this kind of messages, with this kind of action, levels of consciousness, making people aware about what is happening here. We are also encouraged that even though the West and America would want to deny us information, at least now we are living in a very advanced kind of world where social media is also assisting us to spread this message of ours, to share these campaigns all over, these mass actions all over. So at least we know that we are not alone in this. The Palestinians will know that they are not alone in this, but the entire group, the entire world is in support of them. So we must continue with this.
Okay, I just want to digress here a little and read out a press statement, rather media release by the Department of Basic Education. It still ties in with the Palestinian situation, but it's very close to home. Can I read this out to you, please, and get your comments on it? You might or might not be aware of it, but I'm sure you are aware of it. This is a response on the use of the term mandatory Palestine in the mathematical literacy paper 1, written in the October-November 2023 National Senior Certificate Examinations. Are you aware of that situation?
I must be honest, I have not picked that up. So
Oh, you know.
I would want to avoid commenting on it for now.
Okay, fine. I'll read this then out for our listeners tuned in this morning, but I'll do that right after I have concluded with you. What are your concluding remarks to the people of South Africa and to the people of Palestine?
Firstly, is to again support all initiatives by our government, support our minister, Dr. Pando, and we are inspired by how she's managing this situation. Our president of the country, we are also inspired by that. We are inspired by the masses in our country who are joining the picket lines, marches and so on and so forth. I mean, our members as well as SADTU, I think the first march was organized, I think, by the ANC and the Alliance. We plugged our members into that campaign. Many SADTU members joined those campaigns. So we'll continue doing that. So we are calling on all South Africans to raise their voices, to speak against this. Even the media, we are calling on the media to be fair with us and share this information to the world, more especially the atrocities that are happening there. They must share with the world the whole question of how these people are denied access to health facilities, how ambulances are being shot at, how they have blocked even access to questions like electricity, questions like access to fuel. How will you be able to transport somebody who's injured from one point to a health center if you have denied them access to fuel? So we're saying these realities, these facts ought to be shared with nations all over the world, and nations all over the world must continue with what the noble things that we are doing, the noble campaigns that we are doing to put the government of Israel under pressure.
That was Nkosana Dolapi, Deputy General Secretary at SADTU, and talking about SADTU's statement on the genocide in Gaza. Thank you indeed, and continue your support for the people of Palestine. The time is 9:32. News and views on Salam Media.